Who are you? Who is the I in you? And with what do we identify? The Nefesh Elokis, the godly soul, or Nefesh Bahamis, the animal soul? So it depends. When we're striving to be better, so what's the better? The godly soul. So then we need to identify with the godly soul. However, when it's about taking ownership of the I, the capital I, the arrogant I, right? It's a capital afterwards, after all, Only in English, by the way, I think I is a capital, right? Big and arrogant. In Yiddish, we say ich, and as I used to tell my children, ich, I, is ichi. What's ichi? Well, because it's the animal soul, it's the body that has an agenda of its own and obscures the light of my soul. So who's the real I? So it depends what you're striving for or what you're taking ownership of. So when you're striving, so as we will learn later, actually, we'll come chapter 31 through 34, we're going to see about what it means to strive and who we should really identify with and what that means. Yeah, that will be the godly soul. Absolutely. Striving, that should be the true me. However, that's when we're striving. But when we have a dullness of heart and you want to take ownership of that and you want to deal with it, so then you got to look at yourself differently. Who am I? What's the I of me? Well, my first responder to any situation is the self-absorption of me. Not the godly in me, right? That we always think about how I feel about it. What does it mean to me? What do I gain from this? That's the natural response, and that's, of course, the animal soul. That's the first responder. And as we say in the prayers every morning, Elokai neshama shenesata bi tahirihi, the soul the godly soul that you put into me, God, is pure, but you put it into me, so there's the me there. Who's the me? The animal soul that's giving vitality to the godly soul. So the me there, the I, the capital I, that in this instance that I am that's not what I'm striving to be, but that's a recognition of the default position. Default position is the animal soul. Oh, that animal soul that's obscuring the light of my godly soul, that's not allowing my soul to be aflame, to be revealed, to be alive. I got to humble it. I've got to humble it. And that's the idea of crushing it. As we'll see what it means. That sounds very, strong, but we'll see what that means to crush. And it is something very engaging and very profound, and only could be done if you really have a real sense of who you are. So as you have a sense of who you are in the godly soul and recognizing essentially what you are, this godly soul. For a Jew, essentially you're a Jew. You've got a dull heart and you feel a distance. There's a disconnect. Okay. But I'm sick. That doesn't make me that I'm not valuable. We're not talking here about the value of the person. No question about that. There's no question. On the contrary, because you're so valuable to God, and by extension, to all of humanity, and for every Jew. No, there's no question about that. Because of that, therefore, you have the strength to now own and check about your practice, that you're, the dullness of the heart that you're owning, and you want to allow your soul to emerge and not allow the body to, dictate in any manner. Now, of course, there's many levels of this. For the Beinoni, it doesn't mean they're dictating in any way of thought, speech, and action. But here we're talking about beyond thought, speech, and action. We're talking about that the heart's aflame, that the heart is feeling and connected to the divine, to God. And that's the ownership over here of the Beinoni. And for us, even more so, of an ownership, because there's even in our behavior that there needs to be ownership. So this is the concept over here of reflecting on this, not because I'm not valuable. On the contrary, because I'm so valuable, because I am so important to God, to God's plan here on earth to fulfill it, therefore I could look in myself in such a demanding manner that I'm going to crush that negative part in me, so then that positive, holy light of my soul will be a flame. Questions, comments, thoughts, powerful idea. Very short class, by the way, and just a very simple concept that the Alter Rebbe brings about, who you? Who's the I in you? Right? So we would never think, what do you mean? The animal soul? No, it's the godly soul. True, it depends on the reference. The reference over here is ownership, not striving to the ideal. Striving to the ideal, we're going to get there. As I said, in chapters 31 through 34, we'll discuss that, on how we change a perception, right? But we need all perspectives in our lives so we could, be what we got to be. Any questions, any comments? 2 question marks before a question. Reminder today, Rambam, 1 o'clock. We're learning the laws of torts and damages. It's very, as before, was very, what's the word? Laws of purity, which were like sort of beyond. This is much more graspable. Okay, John, should these ego-deflating sessions be done every day? And what time of day might be optimal? Very good question, John. No, it shouldn't be done every day, because then, in the end, there's some kind of downers we'll learn more about later. This is something from time to time. When? Not in the heat of the moment, but, so you can kind of deal with it in more healthy headspace. And, probably when you can have some, your mind can be still. So whenever that works out best, there's not necessarily any parameter to this. Okay. Thank you. Lori, can identification with trauma be blocking our connection with God and our divine soul? Oh, for sure, Lori. Yeah, for sure. How to answer that and to deal with that? On some level, there might be professional help that might be necessary. And another level is some of the Tanya teachings that if we use, that will be helpful. That will definitely be helpful. That can be in through Tanya journaling, or from coaching. That might possibly be helpful. One-on-one type of stuff. Thank you for sharing. Michael, please share with us.
In the daily Torah reading is about the offerings for the Beit HaMikdash, and there is a difference between the oil for a normal lightning and for the menorah lightning. And only for the menorah lightning get the olives crushed. The other olives can be squeezed, but only for the menorah have they to be crushed, because the menorah stands for the enlightening of our souls. It's
very
exactly
good.
the same day. The students of the Alter Rebbe ordered the Tanya of reading exactly to the reading of the Torah. It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yep. Excellent. Davida, is the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, pushing our animal soul, or is it just that we let the animal soul have its way over the divine soul? Both. Both are true. In other words, in the end, sometimes we choose, and sometimes I almost lost our choice. Sometimes you have two things in your head, and you choose one. Sometimes it's the right thing, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you do things, and you didn't have any kind of battle within, or any thoughts, two different thoughts about it. You just had one. Because sometimes it's just the first responder, the animal soul, that is, totally in control. That's when we lost freedom of choice, in a sense. Hope that's clear. Vicky, is it best to emulate ownership daily to keep the house clean, so to speak? Very good question, Vicky. So ownership we need all the time. So that's true. What your question is, ownership absolutely needs to be every day, and actually at all times, right? But here we're talking about a method, right, on how to take it to the next level. So, for example, let's make a distinction here. Let's say, you engage with somebody, and whatever it was, that engagement with that person, maybe you weren't totally there, your mind was elsewhere, and you weren't so thoughtful and whatever. So there's ownership in that, and everything, during the day. Here we're talking about not merely the ownership in correcting what you need to correct, but here it's about a deeper ownership, not just of your behavior, but of your inner being. That that there's a dullness of the heart, right? Dullness of the heart, by the way, doesn't mean that you are not engaged. You're not fully engaged, obviously. Fully, but it doesn't mean that you're not. Any negative thought, you push it away, and you say the right thing and do the appropriate thing. So you could be a Beinoni who is master thought, speech, and action, and yet have dullness of heart. So the dullness of heart over here is a deeper ownership that you want to deal with, that to crush the negativity. So that's not a daily thing. That's not a daily thing. But ownership in general of our behavior, that's daily. Because that's behavior. Behavior we have that we're fully responsible for. You can't say, well, part of my day I was responsible for my behavior, but other times, no. That we have to be fully responsible the entire day, our thought, speech, and action. So yes, that needs to be dealt with at all times. But this is not about thought, speech, and action. This is about feelings of the heart. That's much deeper. And that's much a deeper reality within us that we're taking ownership. That is from time to time, right? Because as we're going to see, it's a crushing experience as we're going to go into. It's like very powerful. It's very deep, and so that would not be for every day. So I hope that distinction is clear. But excellent question. Thank you, Vicky. So bring clarification to that idea. On Instagram, we have some questions. All right. Is the evil inclination a separate entity to the animal soul? No, the evil inclination is the emotional part of the animal soul. The animal soul has intelligence also. So the evil inclination is that negative inclination of the emotions. It is part of it. Thank you. Strategic. That was a strategic question. Folks, you can put 2 question marks before you ask the question. That would be amazing. Liana says it's a constant battle. Totally, it's a constant battle. Yeah. Yeah, it is. When you crush the animal soul, is it a one and done type of situation or a continued process? Good question. Excellent question. Again, very strategic question. So remember, crushing the animal soul means you're just not allowing it to cover your godly soul, so the fire of your soul could emerge. If you're a tzaddik, righteous person, so then you've crushed it and actually not crushed it, but transformed it. But the Beinoni is not transforming it. Something that we're going to get into later more about. This metaphor of fire actually will be in chapter 35, which will be amazing. Nuance on everything we just spoke about. But we're going to have to wait for that. Here, crushing it doesn't mean it's not going to come back. The animal soul is there, right? The nature of our being, that we are self-directed, pleasure seekers, having life on easy street. That's all part of the animal soul, and that doesn't go away. It only becomes diminished and it becomes more wily in how it reflects itself. So originally it'd be just hey, give me my beer and let me just relax and watch the game. And then it becomes, let me relax learning Torah. Let's sit back and let me hear the lecture. Well, that's definitely a step up, right? That's a step up. But hey, let me get inspired. Now that's a step up, but beyond that is, of course, not being just relaxed about it, but in other words, being engaged. That's even a deeper, more profound engagement and connection. Just giving that as an example. But excellent, thank you. I think I answered the questions on Instagram. Is there any other one? David, learn 4 perspective of crush today. Okay. I don't know what you're speaking about, David. About 4 perspectives. Rashi. Tanya, Tzvi. I'm sorry. Sandra, are we constantly growing, or are human souls so that the animal soul becomes smaller? So a very good question. So there's, as we will see, there's 2 ways to deal with this. do you emphasize the godly soul or do you emphasize the animal soul, the crushing of the animal soul, or the growth of the godly soul? So in the end, there's both. You got to do both. Right now, we're dealing with the negativity from within, and the truth is, if you don't clean your negativity, your positivity is going to be stained, right? In other words, if you're kind of like foul person, so even when you're going to do good, it's going to be tainted. So if you have this dullness of heart and you're just focusing to try to do good, not that the good's not good, not that the mitzvah's not a mitzvah, it is, but of course it's going to be tainted. It's not going to be, complete, or it's not going to be the way it ultimately could be. Hope that makes sense. All right. Anybody else to share?
May I ask a question, Rabbi?
Go ahead, Vilma, sure.
This crushing that you speak of the ego, animal, soul, is it possible that other people try to do this to other people?
Definitely, people do that, and that's definitely wrong. That is totally, totally off the charts, totally not of our discussion, totally wrong, evil thing to do is to try to crush anybody else. If there's any crushing, it's inward, it's not outward. Yeah, absolutely correct. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope no one had any thought in that direction, because that is not allowed. Others, we got to build them up. Now, sometimes if you're their mentor, you're their teacher, and you got to set them straight. If you have that responsibility as a parent or as a good friend that you need to help somebody. So, don't crush them, but, help them pick themselves up. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. All right. All right, folks. Amazing. We will continue our discussion on this, of course, on Sunday after Shabbos. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, good Erev Shabbos, and a wonderful Shabbos. Rabbi Fine coming to you from Chabad Zich in Kadesh, Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Be well. Great day.